Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
Iran wants to kidnap American soldiers. Canadian wildfires affect U.S. air quality. Wholesale prices drop, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Pentagon officials said the most recent wave of strikes against Iran was completed at 9 p.m. Eastern Time Wednesday, with the bombing targeting Iranian command centers, air defense sites, missile and drone capabilities, and coastal surveillance facilities. The mission, military officials said, was to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. The strikes followed a 90-minute morning wave that targeted coastal defense systems, cruise missile sites, and launch sites. Manucher Mottaki, Iran's former foreign minister, went on Iranian state television and said Iran should target the American troops. My proposal is that we launch a ground attack on one of the U.S. bases in the region, capture 100 Americans, and bring them to Iran, Mottaki said, according to Iran International. Mottaki is also a current member of Iran's parliament. The strikes mark the fifth consecutive day of U.S. attacks aimed at degrading Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump reinstated a naval blockade on Iranian ports Tuesday and warned that power plants and bridges would be targeted next week if Tehran does not return to negotiations. Ukraine struck numerous Russian ships in the Sea of Azov this week, opening a new front in its campaign to disrupt supply lines into Crimea. The drone offensive follows Ukrainian strikes on the peninsula's roads, railways, and fuel infrastructure as Kiev tries to pressure Russia to end the war. House Republicans unveiled a $95 billion budget proposal on Wednesday, covering defense, intelligence, agriculture, and voter registration programs. The 47-page resolution includes $60 billion for defense and $13 billion for intelligence over 10 years. The military funding would support operations connected to the war with Iran, replenish weapons stockpiles, and finance classified programs under Operation Epic Fury. The plan provides $12 billion for agriculture, including assistance for farmers affected by disruptions linked to the Middle East conflict. It also allocates $10 billion in grants intended to encourage states to adopt proof-of-citizenship requirements for voter registration. Republican leaders plan to advance the measure through the budget reconciliation process, which can allow legislation to pass the Senate with a simple majority if parliamentary requirements are met. The proposal does not include equivalent spending cuts or revenue increases. It provides less defense funding than the $350 billion expansion Trump previously requested. House leaders are seeking a vote next week. The Senate has not approved the plan, and no funding would be distributed unless Congress passes the legislation and the president signs it. Smoke from wildfires burning in Canada spread across the U.S.'s Midwest, Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic yesterday and is expected to stick around, creating unhealthy air quality conditions through tomorrow. The smoke has already turned New York City hazy and prompted evacuations of campers in Minnesota. And with a heat dome bringing unusually high temperatures, there's little wind to help get rid of the smoke. Experts recommend people in affected areas stay indoors to avoid both the heat and smoky air. The Ebola outbreak in the Congo is now the fastest growing in history, with over 2,000 confirmed cases, including 754 deaths reported Wednesday. The same day, workers at one of the country's largest medical centers went on strike over unpaid wages and poor working conditions. Payments company Stripe and private equity firm Advent International have offered to acquire PayPal at $60.50 per share, which would value the company at over $53 billion. That's a 28% premium to PayPal's closing share price on Tuesday, though the news sent PayPal soaring 17% Wednesday. If the deal goes through, a tie-up between Stripe and PayPal would create a massive online payments company with $3.7 trillion of annual payments flowing through it. Wholesale prices fell in June as sliding energy costs helped brighten the inflation picture, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported Wednesday. The producer price index posted a seasonally adjusted 0.3% decline for the month, compared to the Dow Jones consensus estimate for the final demand cost measure to be unchanged. On an annual basis, the index indicated a 5.5% inflation rate. The May reading was revised sharply lower from an initially reported increase of 1.1% to 0.6%. Excluding food and energy, core PPI rose 0.2% against the outlook for a 0.3% increase. Core PPI, less trade services, rose 0.1% and was up 5.1% from a year ago. That's the Raw Naked Truth for July 16th, 2026. Remember to like and subscribe to the Raw Naked Truth wherever you listen to podcasts. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.